Hello and welcome to another Let's Interview, and today I'm brought to you by what's possibly the reincarnation of the Crypt Keeper. Wait, was the Crypt Keeper dead, or was he just a zombie? Man, it doesn't matter. Wait, what was your name again? Horror Comics Review?
Yeah, you could just make up any name you want.
The
Mike,
comic
Horror
reviewer.
Show Mike. I'm from Horror Show Comics.
Horror Show Comics.
Yeah, you could go by that if you want.
Oh, yeah. As you guys might guess, his area of expertise is, of course, My Little Pony comics.
No. Only when I feel like I want to be totally fucked up.
Hey, watch your fucking language.
Yeah.
Or should I say, watch your bucking language. Eh?
I don't know, the way YouTube is going these days, it might be
Although
censored there.
admitting, I do have to wonder if there is a pony comic you could review. Maybe it's like an April Fool's joke, like do the Halloween one, but do it in the same style you do.
I did that.
Yeah.
I did that. I did that with the Easter Bunny thing.
That's right. Although it did actually, that was legitimately a creepy tale you did.
Yeah, my son wanted me to do that, and I was like, I think I'm going to do it like in the most innocent way possible, and just add like 1 minute of just sheer terror at the end of it.
No, that worked. I mean, I actually, was like, okay, this has got to be the April Fool's one, and then it's like, oh, twist ending. But yeah,
I made that for my son. He's like 5, and I was like, I got a story about an Easter Bunny you'll like, and he watches it, and at the end he eats the kids. He's like, his face is like wide open, and it's like,
Father of the Year, ladies and gentlemen, Father of the Year.
He loves that. He loves watching that.
Well, okay, just as long as you don't show him Watership Down. I don't think any kid's ready for that.
Oh no, the kid, you got to understand the psychology. I know that most parents refrain from kids, watching the scary stuff, but it's in a sense of a way, as a master's in psychology, I did a study on it, and of course I don't use my kids as an experiment.
No,
but
obviously.
I'm very cautious in raising them and things like that, but I also, horror does in a way help them, overcome, them childhood fears and things like that.
Yeah, let's face it.
Especially, but you can also have fun, like the Easter Bunny thing. 'Cause
Yeah.
after he watched that, he ratted me out in front to his mother, and I was like,
Oh man, you must have gotten quite a talking to.
oh yeah.
Have you been scaring our kids again? Oh god. Oh boy. I remember. Oh man. I remember reading like a comic. I had like an anthology. I was a kid, and I think I sold the book in a garage sale, but remember there was one story that was like a comic involving a killer Santa.
Oh, there's plenty of. Oh, that's Tales from the Crypt. There's one for Tales from the Crypt, and I think there's one. No, not Twisted Tales.
It
Creepy.
might have been.
There's a Creepy.
All I know is that you're doing a good job showing people some of the old classics of the Tales of the Crypt and some of Stephen King's works. But what I think most people find you from is the works of Junji Ito. Oh,
yeah.
Man, this guy,
get...
he is like Japanese Lovecraft, and I love him for it.
Yeah, that's an interesting story when I talk about my channel, how I got into that.
Exactly, because looking at your channel, it's almost like two different channels were formed. One hand, you were talking about like villains and comics and all that, and then all of a sudden, Horror Comic Show presents.
Yeah.
Like you're the freaking new Crypt Keeper. Which, by the way, I do like the style you do. You don't actually need to read the... see what's on screen. You can play it in the background. It's almost like a radio show.
Oh yeah, I like the old class. I try to go vintage radio show sometimes. I kind of get that. I noticed I kind of got that feel for my channel. I was like, okay, yeah. I think I can work with something.
Yeah, it definitely works well. Let me just say that. But why the tone shift? Okay, granted, villains can be scary, but that wasn't your focus.
Um, how I transitioned from supervillain comic books to just fully fledged horror channel. Is that what you're talking about
Yeah,
there?
like, what made you go to that shift?
That's me having to explain the entire freaking history of my channel. Me on YouTube.
We have
Uh,
time. That's
I
why
know
we're
we
here.
do. Well, once upon a time, I found YouTube. Okay, no, it began when I think I was a year after the military, and I was going off, getting paid through the GI Montgomery bill, getting my bachelor's degree in psychology,
Hmm.
and I was I think it was probably about 6 months of non-employment. I was going crazy. I was like, fuck, I got to find a job,
Gotta do
or I'm going to go
something.
crazy. I got to do something. So I found a job, which I'm not going to mention, and at the same time, I found YouTube, and I'm like, and when I watch other YouTube videos, like, oh, this looks fun. And this is when before I noticed that YouTube was a job. I think it was in 2010, June of 2010, when they were
Yeah,
start.
during that time, you had to be like part of a like machinima or something to get
Yeah,
to be
you had to be
paid.
big. It's like you're just using YouTube to upload videos, but you're not using it as a career or job or
Exactly.
anything.
Nowadays,
So at
now
the time,
it's kind of gone full circle. Now you gotta be big to make it big. If you're small, you don't get squat.
so at the time on YouTube, I was very small, but I was actually using my YouTube channel to for another website called Comic Vine. I think it's called GameSpot or something like that. I'm not sure. Uh, but that's where I made my videos for, and it kind of got me a boost, past 1,000 subscribers. It was really nice. I mean, I wasn't all that great, but, I kind of I had fun editing, making videos about superheroes, because I've always wanted to talk about superheroes, and supervillains fascinated me.
No, I
So that's how,
agree. Heroes are great, but sometimes it's the villains who steal the show.
yeah, I
Doctor
just feel
Doom, Magneto, the Joker, Riddler, Scarecrow,
like
Thanos.
my channel was, I focus, I noticed there was a lot of obscurity, and I'm like, I could just make a YouTube channel. I could just make a visual performance, and just put it on my channel. It was new; nobody was doing it at the time. People were making videos of, like person comic book reviews, where you see the person talking about the comics they just bought.
Although
I mean,
Linkara was pretty good on talking about some of the older stuff.
oh yeah, I think he was like him and somebody else was the only comic book channel I could find so far. Maybe Comic Book Girl 19. I'm not sure about her
Yeah,
though.
yeah. Because when I think
But
of comic reviewers, first person that comes to mind is Linkara, and I can't think of anyone else.
yeah, that guy's like old school now.
Still going
I
strong.
uh but yes, I started off talking about not talking about comics, trying to do an in-depth insight of certain characters, because I used to write for them on Wikipedia pages for fun. I did this as a hobby, and I was like,
Hmm.
oh, yeah, I can use YouTube as a visual performance, practice my editing and stuff like that,
Or
have
at least
fun.
and also tell people about heroes, something they may not have known about.
Yeah, that's what I did, and then I thought, I think about 3 years down, I still thought like I still have something here. It was pretty tough to make these videos. It really was. I mean, it took me about a month, with my personal life, and just to make about 15 minutes, it was just stressful.
Plus, there's all sorts of history you gotta go.
Yeah,
What's been retconned? What's from another dimension?
yeah,
And
and but it wasn't that. It wasn't the research. It was the editing. It was the you know yeah, I was trying to find a single picture to prove your point because I'm researching the literature, but trying to find the pictures, it was hard.
yeah,
But
that's also a
anyways,
problem.
to make a long story, try to condense it.
Eh.
Eventually, it's like I got so I think it was last year, and I think it was in 2015. You seen the Watch Mojo top 10 comic book channels?
I kind of avoid Watch Mojo. I just think they're sort of
Yeah, I know they're
meh.
really bad.
They're kind of
So
meh.
I remember I think it was in 2015 when Watch Mojo that made the top 10 And I was so invested in talking about comics at the time until that damn contest came up. And I don't know,
Linkara, of course, number one, right?
nope.
What?
Nope.
Why? Okay,
No.
now you know that the list is full of bull because...
Yeah.
Are you
Oh.
serious? Who beat Linkara?
It was the good thing is a lot of people. I went on their website and they had people go on there to vote for their favorite channels. I saw that, and a lot of it was so funny because a lot of people. It was just like it was far different from what I expected. I mean, the comic book community was in better terms, it was just so fucked. That's when I
Yeah.
realized it. I'm like, what the hell? I was like, people were just so obsessed, like, having a comic book YouTuber or something. Like, I don't know. I think it was just over exaggerated and it was just overhyped over something that was simple. And I just
And
like,
it's just a goddamn list. A list that
I
can
know
change
it's
by
like
next year.
it's like it's like I wouldn't be surprised like this channel's gonna fucking win. I'm gonna blow this building up. That kind of
Really?
overreaction. Hi. Yeah, it's like I read.
This is
You
why I
could see
stay
the
out of fandoms.
Yeah, it was like that's the thing about the comic book community that really sucked me out of it. It's just you kind of get sucked into the fandom, and after that, I think that's where the start was, where I just lost the passion to talk about comics on YouTube. I mean, I kind of stuck with it, tried to find it. I think 2016 was a really rough and depressing year on YouTube because, you try to find something, you're trying to go the extra mile, you're trying to be more mature, going against YouTube guidelines, because you notice how I think in 2016 my videos start getting darker, uh, like like Batman the Cult. You just kind of see scenes where other comic book channels don't show. Like I'm just gonna show it and see what happens.
Yeah,
Like
because it's almost as if you became like this. You went into the dark age of comics where everything's all
Like
gritty and bloody.
like you notice in my video history where my videos keep getting darker and darker and darker.
And then all of
And
a sudden you went to Junji Ito, and then it's like, okay, there's no coming out of that.
Yes. Junji Ito was oh my god, I think I think after I at first I went by the original name as Channel Bad Guy, and I just gave up YouTube. I retired. I think I retired and came back about twice. And when I came back the second time, I was like, I'm just going to go as Horror Show Comics and just focus on the scary things of comics. And at that time, I didn't have a collection of Tales from the Crypt. I didn't know who Junji Ito was. I was just focusing on the scariest things I could find in Marvel and DC.
And granted, there's
that,
some pretty good horror in them, but I'd
yeah,
say
there
Darkest
is.
Night is definitely something you should probably look over.
No, I saw The Darkest Night, but the scariest one is 24 Hours by
Ooh.
Neil Gaiman. That one's really good
Ooh.
in terms of scary. I say that's on the top list of terrifying. But for Junji Ito, that happened when a friend of mine was talking about it. She was talking about Junji Ito, how scary she was, something called the Enigma of the Amagari Fault,
Yeah.
And I was curious. Well, I'm not into manga. I don't do manga. I never read. Last time I read manga was when I was stationed in Okinawa, Japan. I was like, I'm not into this, and that's pretty much it. So I was like, scariest. I mean, I need something because I'm at the point where I'm on the third part of retirement, and I think this is going to be it because I'm just not feeling it for, this YouTube channel. Because after I did my most controversial video, which is John Constantine Hard Time, I consider it still my most controversial, but regardless of
Well, the
everything
only
else
way you
put
can get
up.
any more controversial, I guess, is to say anything good about Frank Miller's there's Holy Terror.
Yeah,
That's
not the wrong kind, not the one that's gonna. I thought John Constantine was gonna get my head chopped off by YouTube, but it turns out it didn't.
no kidding.
Yeah, I was like, I'm at the point where I'm so bored with YouTube. I was like, I'm just gonna throw this out here and see what happens. So, uh,
And I think
and
you hit.
when nothing happened after that, I was like, there's no views coming in. It's like, within a week, it's a miracle if I see about 3 subscribers. Um, I was like, you know what, I'm done with this. It's too much work for these videos and less, rewards for it. So.
Hmm.
Yeah, back to my friend where she's talking about Junji Ito, and I just like a curiosity. I go online and I pick a random story. I pick The Human Chair. I was like, I'm gonna try this. So I read this story. It's like, okay. I was like, I'm gonna go with this story. I'm gonna see what happens. This should be definitely interesting. I might get a reaction because one thing that pissed me off is I never got barely a reaction when I post my videos. So here I go. I did the Junji Ito story. It was really tough. It's kind of silly because when I first read it, I was like, I'm fucking reading it the wrong way. I was like, oh, that's right. You
You
got to
get
read the
used
other
to it
way.
eventually.
It's like, I was like, yeah, the whole time I'm doing this story, I was like, what the fuck are you doing, man? Why are you doing this? You're
Yeah,
gonna
I
get
tell you,
grilled.
when I first got, oh man, the first time I got Yu-Gi-Oh, yeah, same reaction I had. What? Wait, what am I doing? Oh, I was supposed to read the other way. But it
You,
looks
you,
like you struck some, you struck the iron while it was very hot because people started getting more and more interest in Junji Ito and looking it up.
yeah, yeah. And that video was probably my most hated because that transition from superheroes to manga, because my experience, comics like Marvel and DC and manga, I noticed that in my time on Comic Vine, they're at each other's throats. And me doing this, I was like, I'm gonna piss a lot of people off, and which I obviously did. But at the same time, I made probably about 5 times more people happy.
And
Or
yeah,
I I brought more people to my channel, and I'm like thinking, wow, you know, it's like, all right. So I did another one and another one and another one and then another one. That's where I kind of got into the whole um, Junji Ito kind of thing.
but you
But
couldn't just do Junji Ito. You had to do
no,
more.
I'm not a Junji Ito channel because, here's the thing. The most controversial thing I've noticed about my channel is how people notice that, "Hey, why don't you read from the panels of the dialogue like the other channels?" I'm like, well, that's not what I do. I've been for 6 years. I take the story, I rewrite it, and I narrate it in my own words.
Yeah, and
So
if you ask me, it's a pretty good thing. At the very least, you show the panels on screen so we can read if we want to, but
yeah, I know. It's like, this is just me. I explained to somebody like 3 days ago, like, I explained to this girl, who was nice enough to ask me about it. Says, do you like to draw? It's like, for example, you like to draw, or you like to paint, or you like to do something creative. And this is how I see it, because I'm not getting paid for this.
hmm,
I'm just doing this for fun, for my own entertainment. I was like, this is why I'm doing it. I don't have to read panel by panel, unless YouTube is like paying the bills and putting food on the table. And if, shit, I'd definitely be reading panel by panel. That would be done. That'd actually be easy for me to do, but I don't want to do that.
you're doing a little more, and
Oh
I
yeah,
can appreciate that.
it's like, yeah, I know it sounds like I'm doing more hard work, but actually, in the long run, I'm actually getting more benefits out of it. Because I'm getting more experience, with writing, with wording, and uh, not. I don't have a fancy for the narration. That's just for me to get the job done with YouTube. But I'm more focused on the writing and trying to connect with the audience.
Yeah,
Uh, trying to adapt my personality into the story because, I've read Clive Barker, I've read Stephen King, and I've read Ray Bradbury, and, in order to act, you can be a writer, but you also have to have the imagination and the ability to connect with the audience to produce a good book. And if you don't have that personality and you're a good writer, you're still going to be writing crap.
I can't argue with that.
So, I mean, this is where experience, it's baby steps. So this is how I see, this is pretty much where I'd like to take the advantage of rewriting something, but also staying true to the original content as well, respectfully.
Yeah, like say some of the old school like Tales from the Crypt and those old school comics, they had a different way of writing, and it would be kind of awkward to try and narrate some of them. So,
oh yeah, I saw.
My God, the hand is moving. It's coming towards me. It's going to strangle me. Yeah, that's pretty silly.
Well, I've read it. No, it's really not really. It's not as it's not as dramatic as I thought. You gotta have that kind of a narcissistic personality in order to narrate those.
Yeah.
Because I'm doing one right now, and I just finished it, and I read the dialogue. It's a lot of reading for these stories, and it's just that there's a dark sense of humor that I have to respect from it.
I can agree. Yeah.
If you read it, you notice that in the dialogue boxes, it just has a really silly. It has a campy but very darkened sense of humor that I really.
That's why people love the old Crypt Keeper. Yeah, he was silly, but he had a dark, twisted sense of humor that is timeless.
Yeah, it's like.
Although I gotta wonder, since they brought back MS3TK to some success, I wonder if they'll bring back Tales from the Crypt. That would be awesome.
Nah, they tried to with M. Night Shyamalan. They tried to.
Oh, right.
Yeah,
the twist it was crap.
No, it wasn't. They never made it. They couldn't get it through for some reason. M. Night Shyamalan wanted to do it. I saw the trailer for. I think I saw the trailer. I'm not sure,
I would think that M. Night Shyamalan, out of all the people, would actually kind of work for Tales for the Crypt because there's always a twist. So I guess it could work.
Yeah. I don't want to see no twist. Goddamn Tales from the Crypt.
At least not with Shyamalan.
No, I don't know that I can't judge anything until I watch it though.
Yeah, I can't argue with that.
Yeah, it's like I know the guy has been recognized as box office poison, but I can't judge anything unless I watched it.
Yeah.
So
comics that you like. You love the horror. You mentioned before you grew up with horror. You grew up watching Friday the 13th and Alien. Oh yeah, Aliens. That was so awesome.
Alien
Covenant. Better than Resurrection, at least?
Alien Covenant is probably better than the, in my opinion, Alien Covenant. First of all, it is better than the Aliens versus Predator, both of them.
Yeah.
But it's not better than Prometheus.
Yeah.
Prometheus, I admire Prometheus. I would say that writing was, when I first watched that movie, I was like, wow, this Ridley Scott just totally just went against the fact that he did writing based off Darwinism, and it just goes against Darwinism, and I'm like, wow, it's controversial, but it's good, and everything fits into place. That's my opinion. I love Prometheus.
Hey, everybody's got an opinion. Me, I'm just like, it was all right, but Aliens is best in the whole series.
The first Alien was, you can't top that. You cannot top that. The first Alien was science fiction, half horror. Because it
was a slasher in space done right.
It was, because I would watch it all the time, and it was like, I wouldn't say it was a slasher, because I see slasher as, I know there are some slasher points, but, it's more of suspense. It's more of,
that's true.
Yeah,
Still
it's more
really
like...
Good. Okay, how about we just agree to disagree between which is better? Because I think it's one of those things where we're both right, or at least some of the best movies ever made.
Prometheus was more just sci-fi. It was just probably sci-fi with probably 5% of horror.
Alien
maybe
3
less.
tried to be Alien, And Alien Resurrection was a piece of crap.
Alien Resurrection was a piece of crap. Alien 3 was a good... I liked the story for Alien 3. I really did.
At least
but
they
it was
tried. You can at least tell they were trying.
It was too damn long.
Exactly. But at the very least, the ending would have been like, okay, this is how it ends. Fitting. A bit of a fitting end. It could have been a lot better, but then they had to make Alien Resurrection. You know a movie is going to suck if it has an R tagline.
Yep.
And Alien vs. Predator, I'm with the nostalgia critic on this one. The ending part, awesome. The beginning, ugh.
I don't remember it. And there's a reason why, because it's probably bad. Yeah. Just like Aliens vs. Predator Requiem or something.
But I think we can all agree this. Did it a lot better in the comics. And I think I can tell you why. See, the problem is that Predator was more like a action slasher, or just an action movie. And Alien is supposed to be a claustrophobic, horror movie. It's kind of hard to put the two together on a screen. It sort of clashes against each other. In the comic, at least, you can still have elements from both and do more to explore them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, whereas the movie just... Though admittingly, just seeing a Predator fight an alien is pretty awesome. Now, if only we could get a Predator to fight a Terminator, that would be awesome. Actually, Alien versus Predator versus Terminator.
No, I don't want to see that. Hollywood just totally fucked that.
Maybe in the comics.
No, if I ever... I don't know. If I want to see a crossover, it'd be Judge Dredd versus Predator or Alien.
Ooh, that would be pretty cool.
The new
or
Judge
RoboCop versus...
I know, Hollywood obviously fucked up RoboCop.
Oh God, yeah.
80s Robo. It has to have cocaine and crime in it.
Cocaine on boobs.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait, Frank Miller did this? Frank, are you serious? Frank Miller? Yeah, Frank Miller did that. I'm like, huh. Wow.
Yeah, I watched. Oh my God, I watched the new one. I was like, as soon as I watched the new one, I cut probably about halfway out. And I was like, I gotta put in the old one.
Oh, yeah, that new one was painful. Even RoboCop 3 was better, and this is the one where they gave him the jetpack.
Yeah.
Because at the very least, the three movies had sort of an overarching story with, corruption corporate corruption taking over and all that. You can still see that. It's just that, the movie's got a bit dumber going on. I guess...
Yeah, I know the writer did... the guy who wrote the story didn't want them to make a movie, and they ended up making a movie.
Yeah.
I guess... Just the 90s, they had to sell some things, and I guess that's what the purpose of the movie was. Then they made a
cartoon series.
Yeah.
What was up with that? Making a cartoons based on R-rated properties. Okay, RoboCop is the one I can buy, because he's a robot, he's a cop, he's a RoboCop.
They did that with Terminator 2.
Terminator, Rambo...
Yep.
Freaking Highlander cartoon. Highlander! Okay! Why?
Because it's awesome, It's like...
And
what makes...
And then they were going to do Aliens. And I'm like, actually, that one could work. Because, awesome muscle men fighting aliens! Okay, yeah, it would totally bastardize, the actual movie, but... You can sort of see how awesome that could be as a kid's show. It just sort of a dumb way.
Let's just say the 90s was strange.
80s and 90s, yeah.
The 80s was different than the 90s. The 90s was more like what you just said, selling, Terminator 2 action figure, rated R action figures to kids.
I know, just what the fuck?
That's what made '90s awesome, in my opinion. You know.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, I was born in the '90s. I've seen some of that stuff. I've had some of the toys. Oh, God. Ugh. And now in 2017, I feel like an old man. Technology advanced so quickly, a year feels like 5. It's because, trends and fads, they come and go so quickly, whereas back then it was a decades thing.
I know.
Yeah, so you could just see through the decades, through their fads. How do you go do that in the 2000s? You can't.
I don't know. I stick to my style. I'm still stuck. I'm an 80s/90s, so I'm gonna stick with that.
Rock seems to be working out.
It seems to be working out fine for me.
I hear that. So, okay, we rambled on too long. So what are some of the comics you're going to want to do in the future? Because I was one request I do have for you, maybe for around Halloween, maybe you talk about the comic adaptation of Who Goes There, aka The Thing.
Is there one?
Yeah, there actually was in a sci-fi comic, like one of those sci-fi anthologies where they did an adaptation of Who Goes There. And there is Thing comics, but it's quote-unquote sequels, and they sort of get worse as they go downhill. Just look up Linkara's review, and you will completely understand why. That's my request, just... Yeah.
Usually for requests right now, for this year... for October, I'm still debating on what I'm going to be doing for October, because I know that's going to be Halloween month.
You got to have something special for it, or a theme, or maybe some of the goriest comics.
No, I'm not going to do that.
Although ironically,
I have a plan D. I said this. When I said this about I think on my third Junji Ito video, I was like, if this shit doesn't work, I'm going to say, if I'm going to leave YouTube, I'm going to leave it with a bang. It's like, if I'm going to talk about comics, I'm going to take about 3 videos from the Cross series, and I'm going to put that shit on there, uncensored, just like, all right, deuces. You know the Cross series, right?
No, I've never heard of it.
Oh my God. Well, it's kind of like suicide for your channel if you want to put it up there, because it's one of the most graphic, mature comics there is in horror.
Oh,
it's
we talking like this is the Violent Jack of comics?
The most violent. It's popular,
God, yeah.
but it's utterly. I get requests for it, and I'm like looking into this. I was like, I see a guy raping a dolphin while stabbing it. I'm like,
wait, I'm sorry. Could you repeat that? Did you say
in the Cross?
Guy raping a dolphin?
Yeah.
That sounds like Deadpool on an off day. I'm sorry.
There's a lot of that. Like, there's like so much. I mean, and they show it too. They don't censor anything, and it's popular. And I'm like,
dude,
I'm looking into this. I'm like, how the fuck can I get away with this on my
channel? If Deadpool did that, at the very least it'd be an off-panel thing, and there'd be a joke where he's just like laying in the water smoking a cigarette somehow through his mask, like, was as good as for you as it was for me. Like, but dude,
I will Google that. There's a picture. There's a scene where it shows that.
I don't want to. I don't, dude.
That was if my channel failed.
No, I'm with you. I mean, if you're gonna burn bridges and take a dump on someone's desk, on like YouTube's desk, that's the best way to do it. I'm not gonna lie.
I'm good. That's my final goodbye.
No, yeah, I'm with you on that one.
But
or maybe if you set up a Patreon and someone gave you like a couple $1,000 each for each comic, like $2,000. I will review each comic individually.
But I can't do the cross series though. I can't do that right now. I mean,
That is horrifying. That is
that's
fair enough.
that's have to be, because I noticed that I look at my I look at the people who watch my videos, the analytics. I don't know how to pronounce that fucking word, but I look at the people who watch my videos, and I notice I'm getting like an increase of females on my channel, and I just like, and I notice some children on my channel. It's like consciously I can't put that crap on my channel.
At least with children, I can understand because hey, spooky, scary, somethings. Although I feel sorry for the kids who their parents introduced them to Junji Ito. That doesn't seem like something you should introduce anyone till they're 16 at least.
My philosophy on this, I've debated with this, is that if they're old enough to go online, then I respect their choices, and I've always put I don't know if I actually did the trigger warnings anymore. I think I should put that up now, but
I don't know.
I used to do trigger warnings.
I think for like your average video, sure, but when it gets really gruesome, then you should probably have a warning.
Yeah, I think I kind of got relaxed with the crowd.
At the very least, you don't need to do it for Junji Ito. I think people know what they're getting themselves into.
I forgot to put the trigger warnings, because I have to tell people, this is what you're getting into, because if you choose to get into it, then, it's your choice. I respect it. Because if you're old, it's like...
Hey, you want your mind fucked? This is how you do it.
That's kind of like the, the lesson learned when I was a kid. I watched The Clockwork Orange when my father had it in, in his dresser. I was like, oh, this looks like a good horror movie. And I watch it, I'm like, oh, that's not a horror movie.
No, but it's definitely fucking my mind like one. Good music, though.
That movie's great. Well, not the
God,
movie,
yeah. I mean, it's a fucked up movie, but it was a fucked up book. But in the right way.
Did you read the book?
Yeah, I did. I had to do it for I did this for like a book report.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it wasn't a report. It was like an essay because we had to like pick out a book from like a teacher's selection that she had, and I saw Clockwork Orange. And I'm like, oh well, this is a famous book. I can get through it. Big mistake. I could barely understand it because of all the British slang and terms, and I had to like stop reading and I had to look up what some of these words mean. That was not fun.
Righty, right. Yeah, I know it's really hard to get into it because it's kind of slang for it's like an independent slang for how they use it, the gangs and stuff like that. But
yeah,
it's a very I know it's a very controversial book, but it's a very well written, beautifully crafted story in my opinion, because 21 chapters for 21 years of age, and it's the final chapter that really makes the book really highlight, in my opinion.
Yeah. Thinking about other stuff that's been made into comics. Was there ever a Hellraiser comic series?
Yep, I'm gonna get I'm eyeballing a very controversial one on that one.
Ooh.
I can get away with that one.
Yeah, I mean it's Hellraiser.
Yeah, I think there's one that's I looked it up, and it was one of the best stories where this guy, he's being tortured by a female Cenobite, and he has this overpowering
lust.
Okay,
maybe we should... Spoilers! Spoiler alert! Spoiler!
I ain't spoiling, because I'm just giving you the premise. I'm not telling you how it's going to end. It's kind of messed up.
Actually, I kind of want to keep it a secret until then, So you're gonna do you might do a Hellraiser later.
I'm eyeballing it right now.
How about more Alien comics, or even Alien versus Predator or something?
Well, what's happening right now? It's because one, I'm not a professional. I don't consider myself as a professional YouTube channel. I don't get YouTube money or Google money. Whatever money I get is whatever was with my Patreon. But my decisions are based off right now for my goals of 2017 is based off where the most views are at. And right now that's Junji Ito. And for Junji Ito, that's Tomy.
Yeah, ever since I did that. Yeah, Tomy, that's pretty creepy. You're also doing the classic Uzumaki. Oh
yeah,
God, I can't wait. I cannot wait for when you have to narrate that one chapter with the hair fight. The goddamn hair fight. And the Jack in the Box spray can. I mean, everything else is like really creepy and unsettling, but those just... That gets really weird.
Yeah, I gotta find a way to make that creepy.
This is why I love Japan.
I remember I did the hanging balloons. I'm like thinking, how the fuck can I make this creepy?
No, you did a really good job with that.
That's what I thought it. I'm probably exposing too much of behind the scenes, but I look at the hanging balloons. I'm like thinking, hanging balloons. I says, I know I'm gonna get a lot of dumb questions for this.
Yeah, like,
what if?
Where did they come from? Why are they afraid of balloons? Why don't they just pop them? Oh wait.
Yeah, it's like, I try to answer so many questions, and it's like, that's the thing I do. I try to put more into it where I can answer more questions, and I still get more questions. Even if I put it in the video, I still get the same damn questions.
Well, let's face it.
That's
viewers are idiots. Just always assume the viewer's an idiot. I mean, look at me. I'm a viewer, and I'm an idiot.
And the same thing with Army of One. I had to do a lot of research. I had to try to figure that one out. I was like, what the hell's going on here? I was like, I don't understand what's going on. So I had to study that damn thing to try to figure out. I was like, oh, okay, now I get it.
Interesting twist ending on that one. It almost Tales from the Crypty-esque.
A lot of people didn't get that one. I thought that's the thing. I didn't want to outright spoil it, but I made a lot of interesting facts. There were some parts in that story where I had to focus on it. I don't want to spoil it. I want to keep that.
No, obviously we're not spoiling, but everyone, you should go to his channel and check out this video and story. Yeah. He does a really good job with that.
Like, some people get it and some people don't, but I know. I watched it again. I was like, did I make sure I make some? Okay, I gave hints and clues there of what's going on, and you can understand it because you can really. The thing I wanted the most that I never got as a comic book channel is that nobody gave me any in-depth insight, no analysis or their opinions, and that's what the Junji Ito videos have given me. So that's why I had to. I just can't outright tell you guys this is what's happening. They're all being brainwashed or it's the girl who's doing it. I can't outright tell you that.
Yeah, you gotta base it. You're doing it as if it was a radio show, or you're the one in down.
Yeah, it's like you're in the other room and you smell what's cooking in the other room, and you're like, smells like hot dogs or hamburgers, right? And it's like that's what I'm doing. I'm pointing you to the right direction, giving you hints, hint. That's how I have.
Smells like cooking meat. Wonder what it is.
Bad example, but it's like.
No, I get the idea. I think we get what you mean.
So that's where that's what I like about doing that is like I gave hints, but I didn't want to outright spoil it. So some people got it and some people did get it. So doing that was kind of fun. But
hey, I hear that. Although I am excited to see that when you go into Goyo, because I've heard good things about that one.
The one with the fish coming out.
Weird, basically Japanese thing. The thing, also known as Bao. Yeah, that was an anime. That was like a crappy OVA. Just look up Sage's review of it. It has a really awesome line where it's like, Bao has a laser cannon. It's just.
Well,
I love 90s OVAs. You don't get that shit anymore.
Well, I will tell you what I'll be doing this year, because I have to take time on each of these videos. I have to be precise. Yeah, with what little I have and what I have to make sure I don't half-ass any of these.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, for this year, I'm going to be focusing on Uzumaki series. I'm going to try to finish that one up, and I'm also now that Tomi blew up, she's definitely going to be on my channel this year as well. She's also going to be my Halloween video. There's going to be a Halloween video I consider as the scariest in my opinion. Like,
Ooh, I can't
yeah,
wait.
that's my personal opinion. That's I was looking through that, and Junji Ito has a lot of creepy stuff, and
He's like Lovecraft.
oh
Oh,
yeah,
speaking
but
of
he
which, any
never.
Lovecraft adaptations in comic form?
I try to look. I have to make sure it's in comic anthology like Tales from the Crypt,
Yeah,
short.
yeah. Because not only do
Yeah,
you get that, but you also have other stories you can tell.
exactly. Because if it's longer than a Junji Ito video, then it's gonna take more time, and I don't want to keep people waiting.
Yeah.
Because I also have my personal life. Because before this, I have the responsibilities as a father, as a husband, and I have to go to an 8-hour work shift. So
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
You haven't gotten you haven't gotten far enough to have a YouTube career yet.
Yeah, it's like YouTube's not a career. I already got a career. This is just for fun, a hobby.
Hey,
It's just for something. It's just for something I want to do. Make something good out of it. Years later. So. Um, but for this year, ever since I decided Tomi, the first video was just an experiment to see what happens, and seeing that girl blow up on my channel, I was like, okay, now I have to change plans. So ever since she blew up, and a lot of people are liking her,
and a lot of
and
people are getting more interested in your channel because of the interest of
yeah,
Junji
because
Ito
I was like,
popping
I was
in.
like, yeah, the Ito is getting a lot of attention, and
And he deserves it. The guy is a genius.
I know. But the thing is that, you know, the way with YouTube and, it's kind of hard to talk about this stuff because you're putting your channel at risk if you're monetizing the way YouTube is now going.
Yeah, I hear that. Trust
So
me,
it kind
as
of,
a Let's Player, YouTube has pretty much all but killed us.
yeah, like Dissection Girl where you see nudity, I was like, you can't monetize with that. I was like,
Yeah. Also, that one was really fucked up as well.
that one I was like, oh man, I'm definitely going to get shit for this. Let's see what happens. I was like, put it out there. I was like,
Yeah,
yeah.
I was not. No, I wasn't angry for that. I was just like, wow, Junji, you are a fucked up man. Can I see more?
I know. I was like a girl who gets sexually aroused from getting cut up. I'm like,
And
that's...
then the ending, it's just like, what in the hell is going on? Yeah, again, he's like Lovecraft in that sense.
Oh yeah, he
How,
did.
he can have a really creepy premise and he doesn't always have to explain what's going on.
But I will share you this, the scariest story,
Ooh.
which Junji Ito did surpass with Tomi. I saw that.
Ooh.
It was Jennifer. Jennifer, I did the story on her when I first went totally horror. And you notice that after I did the Human Chair, I did Jennifer because Jennifer I consider was one of the scariest stories in comics, besides 24 Hours within DC Comics.
Hmm.
But Jennifer's up there, and I don't know if you read that one. It's from the Creepy Comics, and they made a crappy film about it, one of the Masters of Horrors or something. But I think the story was really good. The art was really good. The story was well told,
The
and they
plot
had
twist at the end, yeah.
uh, it was I don't yeah, it was a plot twist, but there was something about it that it was usually overlooked that
It was
I
almost
felt.
like she almost came off like a Lovecraftian monster. Because you didn't know what she exactly wanted or what her end goals were. But it just kept
Her
going in a cycle.
Yeah, it was a cycle. I mean, she was just downright evil, but it doesn't show that. It's just like a crippled, hideous girl. It's
Yeah.
like here she is. Her face is repulsive, but her body is magnificent.
It's
So
like,
you're kind of,
what the hell?
you're like you're like in the mixed feelings, like you're disgusted, but you're also like you're lust
It's like,
for her.
well,
Like
she's definitely a butterface.
yeah, it's like it's like it's an interesting it's very interesting, and I felt like Creepy had something here, the writer, and they should have continued on with it. They had a character.
And
I
yeah.
think that's where Junji Ito had succeeded, where that story dropped with Tomi. Tomi is, of course, is not hideous. I mean, but the idea that you got this girl, she gets killed in the most gruesome, graphic way, and she comes back in a unique way.
And she doesn't even seem that angry about it. It's just like, I died. And I was cut up
But
into a million places, and I came back.
But the thing is that it's her personality that makes the story so interesting. Like some of the stories I'm not that into. They are great. They're creepy. They're your basic Junji Ito. But then there's some of those stories that are just downright cruel and evil. Like there's this one that I think is the scariest one from Tomi. That as soon as I read it, I was like, okay, that creeped me the hell out. Because, as a guy, I'm like thinking, if I met this girl, I'm not the kind of guy who chases tail. I said, I don't think this girl ain't. I was like, well, whatever. And I'm like, whatever. I'm not going to chase tail. What happens if that's in the story? And Junji Ito puts that in the story twice. And that's when it's interesting. That's when it gets really creepy.
Yeah. Well, I can't wait to see where this goes.
Yeah, I think it was in the third volume of Tomi where I think Junji Ito focused that, because this girl's like every guy goes nuts over her, and I think he really focused on that question. Not all the guys are going to fall head over heels over Tomi, so it's not going to work out. What happens? So there's like two stories, specifically one I have to put in October, but for that month, I don't know. I'm still debating on what I'm going to be doing for that. It's kind of funny. I also have Christmas figured out too. So I see a bunch of Santa Claus stories that I want to do. It's like,
oh my god, it'd be really hilarious if on Christmas you do, Santa versus the Martians, and you do it in the whole thing's serious. Like,
yeah, I don't think I can get away with that.
I don't know. I think that'd still be pretty good for a laugh.
Yeah, it's like, it's like when you pick a story, you have fun with it. I have a dark sense of humor.
I definitely love that one with the guy who kept. What's the term for a male Black Widow in terms of if you try to keep romancing someone to get their money? What is that term?
Oh,
I know for a woman who does it, she's a Black Widow. What does it mean if you're a man?
I know that I don't know what the term is, but I just think of the word bachelor because that's used a lot.
Or at least asshole. I honestly thought the plot twist would be the woman he meets up with was going to do the same thing he was doing, and just he loses it in his own ironic way. That ending was perfect, and the way you narrated it, with you, like, I get so teary-eyed with this sort of happy ending. I'm like, you nailed it as a narrator.
I was being a smartass in there.
No, that's the kind of stuff we want. We want you to be the throwback to like the Crypt Keeper or other of these guys.
I know. I was reading this story, and I'm like, I wrote this story. I look at this, like, wow, this is better than the. Well, it's. I think the television show was great. Bad acting, but very campy, very entertaining at the same time. So I read the book, and I'm like thinking, I was like, oh man, I got to make a story. It's hilarious, so cheesy too. I'm like thinking. I was like, oh man, I can totally have fun with this one. So I was like, I'm gonna try it. And then at the end, I'm like, just do that fake crying. I'm so happy for him, It's like, look at that.
Oh, that was so glorious. And a lot of the comments agree with me on that one.
I know. And then there was that, what was it, that Stephen King one where it's not in the story, it's not in the book. Meteor shit.
Yeah.
It's in the movie. It's the thing that sticks out. It's pure Stephen King stupidity acting, and I'm like, it's the funniest thing where he just says,
You gotta add that in.
I was like, I gotta add that in, the meteor shit.
Then I made that. You just say it so funny.
I know.
And this guy's supposed to be like a simple bumpkin, so I could totally buy him instead of saying meteor grab, meteor shit. This damn meteor shit is making everything bad. Ah! Grass is growing on my tongue. Ah, this meteor shit.
That story was funny to do. I was like, he drinks himself away, hoping to wake up and it's gone.
Only a dumbass.
There was somebody in the comments that really said, it's like, wow, this guy's so fucking stupid.
Well, welcome to horror! Half the people who die in horror are stupid. You ever notice that?
I think it was the guy who was really... It was a character. I definitely...
No, it worked.
Yeah.
You sold it. And that's pretty much why I think a lot of people are coming to you. You're selling yourself well as the narrator. You should be proud of yourself.
I know. It's like, I see it all, it's like my friends. It's kind of weird having some of your viewers, you work with some of your viewers too. It's, it's like right now my comments are blown up. I remember I was just like, oh, I got a comment, yay, and now it's like, I don't know, YouTube glitched on me. It's like, I can't find the comments.
Ugh! I know!
It's like so many comments, I'm like...
What's YouTube, mate? Who's running YouTube? Microsoft?
That's what... So I had no idea what... It's like, my comments are like kind of lost in the... It's like finding a needle in a haystack sometimes.
Really? Or a needle in a needle stack.
Yep. It's kind of weird working with some of my subscribers because it's like, you should do this, you should do that. Why are you not doing this? I'm like, oh, fuck, man. I was like, shut the fuck up. We're here to work. I was like, that's YouTube, dude. I'm tired of talking about YouTube. I was like, why don't you talk about that pretty girl you keep eyeballing? Stop talking about my YouTube channel.
Let's talk about girls instead. No.
I know. I was like,
only if you're talking about that Tommy girl.
I
like,
know.
Ah!
Tommy is going to be, when I first started the horror show, my idea was have more Vampirella stories, and I'm like thinking, that's not gonna work. And I almost got flagged for that one, because I guess I kind of used the wrong music for that one. But when I found Tommy, I'm like, yep, she's gonna be a main character on my channel now, because I definitely want to have a series revolved around her. And I can get away with not doing it in order like Uzumaki or anything like that.
Yeah, Uzumaki is a story that is a continuation. Tommy, at the very least, you could put stuff out of order.
Yep. Some of the stories you can put out of order, and some of them you have to there's one that's in the first volume, 3 stories are connected, so...
Yeah. That's at least understandable. Well, anyway, it was nice of you to come on board. It was really nice.
Thank you for, having me on board.
No, I insist. And now that you are on here, I now own your soul. Wait, you didn't sign anything. Damn it! I always forget to have the person sign the contract before I tell them I own their soul. Maybe next time. So, you win this one. Anyway, as always, I'm Brenton Kage. And you're...
Oh, sorry. Horror Show Comics.
Yep. Link in the description. Check him out. Subscribe. Let him know what you think about his shit. And we'll see you later. Bye! Say bye.
Bye.
You're killing me!